Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we are going to talk about today about rare earth in Greenland. That's right. And we are talking about high value rare earth. But also, what if I was going to tell you that this is an area that is not only underexplored, but it also has an incredibly rich data set already in existence that we could feed off of. So these types of projects and activities are far, far more advanced than just your typical piece of dirt, if you will. And not only that, we are joined today by our friend Carl Popel because he is the managing director of Eclipse Metals. And Eclipse has these projects, but not only that, if you leave with nothing else, you will understand so much more about what Greenland has to offer for the rare earth community, and in particular for the EV battery space going forward. And with that, Carl, welcome back.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your introduction. Greenland certainly has got a lot of potential when it comes to the rare earth competition that's brewing globally. What's more important, as I've always mentioned, rare earths is not rare. What we've got to remember is that the potential in Greenland in trying to facilitate the deficiencies that's required for the highly magnetic rare earths like DY, PR, and D. Those elements in the basket, when we see the alkaline intrusions in around Greenland itself, especially in South Greenland, it's quite rich. Most of the deposits in Greenland, the potentials are very good when it comes to facilitating the more highly required rare earths in the basket range.
Right.
I'll go more into details, obviously, but it's quite a complex topic. A lot of people may not understand, but rare earths itself is the good quality of rare earths and the average quality. The good quality is what you've got in your basket range, the more highly demanded. The cheaper rare earths with China and the Asian market will probably be difficult to compete in those markets when it comes to cerium or lanthanum. But the more highly advanced EV technology is dependent on the more PR and DDY, SN, those elements within your basket range.
Right. Hey, Carl, and also, I guess, is speaking more specifically about Eclipse, one of your strategies is to really understand and highlight that this area, as I alluded to earlier on, has a very rich data set with a lot of academic work and papers already written up covering Greenland and potentially what Eclipse has on offer. Can you just discuss those papers and those findings a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. Look, the Eclipse project, it's got 130 years of mining history. Cryolite itself is a rare mineral that's been mined from this particular area only. So the one and only cryolite mine in the world is the Eclipse cryolite mine. Subsequent to that, during the 1940s, during the World War II era, a lot of academic research was done. There's also a military base. The US military was occupying Grenadale, which is part of our tenement area. A lot of academic during that period. Subsequent to that, during the 80s and 90s, research was done on the potential of iron ore and other minerals. There is a rich data set, a lot of academic work, a lot of sampling, and which all points to the same thing, that there's various different sort of minerals or rare earths elements that's been identified in some of these areas, but more from an academic perspective rather than economic geologists going in there to see the size and the extent of these mineralization. We're fortunate we've got a lot of understanding about what we've got. What we're trying to do, obviously, is delineate an ore body within the polymetallic project that we identified as a polymetallic simply because there's a smorgasbord of different minerals within the tenement area. You've got the cryolite, which is the Ibitude area further down, about 10 kilometers within the tenement. We've got the granadile area, which is for the rare earths, the carbonatite rare earths deposit. And further down from that particular mineralization, we've identified what we call, we're still trying to identify, with the help of St. Andrews University and other academics, put a mineral name on this particular pink rock that carries a lot of rare earths. Sampling results are showing us very good rare earths in there. In particular, PR and MD ratio is very, very high. And I must mention that in the current economy, if we look at a successful company such as Linus, which produces almost 80% of its revenues coming from the sales of PR and MD. The rest is from the other elements. So we see in our project, in the sample results, the PR&D ratio is extremely elevated, and that's quite promising from a commercial perspective. When you're developing a project, you want to make sure that what you're extracting is not necessarily just a high grade, but also high grade in that's highly demanded and more economically viable in the current market economy. So we're fortunate with Granadale. We see those sort of results from our sampling and also from academic record. Getting back to some of the academic stuff, the Bondam 91 report, which was a comprehensive research that was done on the Ibitude deposit, it highlights reserves, in situ reserves, etc. But as a public company located in Australia, we've got to comply with a JORC 2012 compliance.
Yes.
In order for us to verify the validity. But having said that, most of that was done by previous mine operators for the purpose of commercially exploiting those deposits. So I'm happy to share some of the remnants that's available still in the actual pit as a result of previous drilling and assay results. But we are trying to quantify that more precisely in line with JORC 2012 compliance.
Right.
And we're trying to verify most of it, and we have to go, obviously there's 19,000 meters of drilling that we have to assess to make sure it's in line with the 2012 compliance. And so far we haven't seen anything but quality. Most of the work that was done previously was done quite good. It is a tier 1 jurisdiction in Europe. So the work that was done, it was done with great care for the purpose of commercially exploiting on the mineralization.
Right. And when you say the work that you've also already done, you've had results over the last 12 months. Can you just talk to them a little bit? And maybe they may not be JORC compliant, but can you just explain it in words, in language that Australian investors may understand?
Yeah, sure. If you don't mind, I'll share some
Great.
some of my screen with you so you can identify. If you could see my screen here, we've got the 3D of the actual pit environment. This is the pit environment where they've taken 3.8 million tons of cryolite, which was shipped to Denmark and also to US. So as you can see, there's a lot of drill holes that's gone through. This was done previously by the previous mine operators. And as we go through, the pink and the red area, that's the cryolite deposit that's still remaining in the actual pit environment. Right. So there's a fair bit of cryolite and fluorite that's been encountered. Further down, there's been the red, as it's coming up below, there's the zinc iron mineralization, which we call siderite in geological terms. And further below, there's a quartz body that's been identified below the zinc siderite. So as you can see, there's a lot of drill holes, and the actual drill holes, when we look at the actual quartz body, as you can see, there's quite a decent zinc siderite body that's there. And we've just recently made that announcement on one of the drill core that's sitting in Copenhagen, in the Copenhagen University. That's a recent announcement last month, which highlighted the assessment. We were fortunate to get access to this particular core. That's gone through the center of the actual pit environment, straight through the quartz body, and we've seen very good niobium XRF results. We've seen some very good zinc, copper results in there. Also, it confirms what we've known previously from historical reports. And so having that guide, the previous reports, gives us a guide to go out there and reconfirm what's there. So we're pretty confident that what we've got within the pit environment is economically viable. But as I mentioned, we need to be cautious and go and further verify on what. We obviously, it's a two-tier approach that we got. From one side, we're verifying the previous exploration results, but at the same time, we're progressing towards a mining license, trying to get an exploitation permit to be able to mine this particular mineralization.
And Carl, regarding the mine, sorry to interrupt you, but regarding that mining license, it's a good spot to maybe say, what would be the timetable on that?
It's an answer when you put a timetable. We do have several steps to comply with. One is obviously we've got to do some water testing from within the pit environment in order to dewater that pit. Previously, they didn't need to worry about any of these rules. Back in the 80s and 90s, they would just dewater the pit. But obviously now, with modern ESG policies, we need to comply with modern rules. So we need to get an understanding of what the water content within the pit environment is, and subsequent also we need to provide some thorough details on how that will affect the local waters when we do empty it. We don't see any problems because this was a historical normal thing. It was dewatered on a regular basis by previous mine operators, and now obviously we've got new rules to comply with. So we've just recently completed our first draft of our environmental social SIA and EIA documents. That's been submitted to MLSA, the Greenlandic Mines Department, for their consideration, and we're waiting for their comments. It's a process that's already in progress, and we're hoping that within the next 12 months, that process should be complete. We should be in a position to get our exploitation license.
Right. And Carl, I mean, one can't help but looking at this, at these 3D images and just see the sheer number of holes already drilled. Does that, all that work, does that give you further confidence that Eclipse really is in the right location?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we got to be mindful. This is only one commercial aspect within the tenement, the pit environment. What came out of this particular pit, as you can see, there's a big hole there. There's a big, massive hole. There's roughly around about, if you calculate it, that's the radius of about 250 meters by 60 meters deep. So the amount of rock that's come out of here, the white rocks, which they call cryolite, that was shipped out to the US and Denmark. What's remaining is still on site. That's all the tailings. So we got roughly about an estimated volume of around about 4 million tons of waste rock that's sitting there. When we assay these waste rocks, which we've done, we've announced that earlier last year, the waste rocks from the samples that we collected came out with some very good results of zinc, copper, lead, and also some good silver results. It's also got rare earths. Bear in mind, historically, they never focused on the rare earths. They just took the cryolite. There's a fluoride body in there, which we're trying to assess for the rare earth potential. It is giving us good values for heavy rare earths. And most importantly, the bulk samples that we've got now in the laboratory, we've just recently submitted a lot of bulk samples to the laboratory for testing. The results will be due in due course. Subsequently, the drilling results that we've got, the drill core, should I say, that we've got there in Kangalusa, it's in a core shed. We'll be examining that during the field season this year. There's 19,000 meters of drill core that's just sitting there for us to go and assess. All that, of course, it gives us the confidence that we certainly have mineable mineralization there. The trick to the whole thing at the moment is because it's a smorgasbord. It's like a sandwich, as you can see. There's different layers in this pit. We got the zinc, we got the iron. The different layers we need to value and calculate, obviously, a precise resource amount. We can estimate what we've got. We've got exploration target based on that. We know we've got roughly around about somewhere around 5 million tons of quartz. We know we got cryolite, we got fluorite, we got zinc siderite. But obviously, how much of that precisely in accordance to JORC compliance, we need to come up with a precise number. In order to do that, we need to do some further calculation in line with 2012 JORC compliance.
Right. Hey, Carl, you mentioned just a minute ago about the bulk samples that they're going to come out in due course. Is that right? So on a general timetable, would that be in the coming months?
Yeah, that's what we hope for. We got to be mindful. It's not only the results from our perspective, obviously from the market perspective, the interest in the results. We're interested in the results. We also like to do some metallurgical tests on that in order to separate. We do understand it's got good value of zinc, copper, and silver. And what we're trying to do is understand how do we separate all of that from each other in order to be able to make a concentrate for an offtake. So there's a few steps that we've got to take. When I say results, look, yes, we will have some results, but the complete set of results assessment will most likely take longer than just getting a sample results for us to get an understanding of what's in there. We like to get an understanding more in regard to the separation and the metallurgy of it. So there'll be some metallurgical assessment, various different types of metallurgical assessment in order to create a full concentrate.
Got it. Hey, Carl, for the next 12 months for Eclipse, what would be your definition of success? What should the investors look for as the major milestones in your point of view to say this is amazing?
Well, we are working very closely with the European Raw Material Alliance. We made that announcement recently. We're partners with the European Raw Material Alliance. ERMA is a great European initiative. They're very eager to facilitate the production of rare earth and industrial critical minerals and be self-efficient in Europe. And we're working very closely between now and the next 3 months. We're hoping they will visit the project site during the summer field season. And we would like to look at non-dilutive funding from ERMA, which we're in the run-up. Eclipse's project, especially this one, has been the Eclipse project has been one of the most the best revenue generating projects in Europe historically.
Wow.
It's been one of the most successful mines for the European region historically, and it's got the potential to rejuvenate and be a successful producing mine moving forward. And I think the ERMA understands that simply from the history of the actual project. I mean, a simple Google search will give you a lot of information about the project, about Eclipse and the history of it, the strategic importance of it back in World War II, and also moving forward currently the mineral that it can produce for the European region. It's just ideal. So what we would like to see in the next 3 months or so is strengthen that relationship, that alliance with the ERMA in order for them to take a strategic position and help with substantial funding.
Right. No, that would be amazing and a clear validation of Eclipse's project. Hey, Carl, unfortunately, we have to keep the interviews somewhat short. In closing, if there were a couple of remarks or eclips about Eclipse you just want everybody to know, and also Greenland as well, can you just, where would they be?
Look, Eclipse is a company that's existed since 2010 on ASX. It's got a strong, supportive shareholder base. with a portfolio of asset that varies and ideal for the current market economy, focused on manganese, copper, rare earths, and industrial mineral. And having the Ibetut project added to the portfolio since 2021, it adds on further value to the actual company. And in light of obviously what's going on in Europe, geopolitics of it, it's in a perfect position to move forward. And and most importantly, it's a company that we're focused on running the actual enterprise like a company should, as a small company. We're for the greater good of the shareholders. One thing that I see personally, there's a huge gap between the share value and what the assets are within the actual company, and what we need to do, obviously, elaborate on that for long-term investors who are looking for in a portfolio of assets that's ideal for the current market economy, in particular what's going on. Greenland itself, it's a tier one jurisdiction. It's based on European principles and mining laws that aligns well with Australian mining laws. And they are quite strict when it comes to the environmental and social aspect side of things, which is fine. It fits perfectly within our range, the way we operate here. We appreciate that. We follow strong ESG policies internally, try to adhere to that. I think there's a lot moving forward for Eclipse. That's the way we see it, and we're confident that the results will tell the story further as we move forward in the next 3 to 6 months.
Great. Hey, Carl, thank you so much. Absolutely stay in touch and great to chat again.
Pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Gotcha. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching another episode of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. And don't forget, if you want access to thousands of capital raises, sign up at 180markets.com.au and you'll get access to our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.